In the headline, iSwap distributes old Naira notes to passengers on Borno Highway. New Naira notes scarcity pushes people to the edge. NRC resumes Kaduna-Abuja train services. And on the foreign scene, Liberia President George Weah announces a run for a second term at the October 10th poll. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Welcome and thank you for joining us. And now the news in full. Suspected members of the Islamic State of West Africa province, ISWAP, have distributed huge amounts of old notes to the scores of commuters in the Lake Chad Basin ahead of the deadline of the Central Bank of Nigeria's cashless policy. It was gathered that the incident occurred after Mairari village along the Maiduguri-Mongono highway in Guzamala local government area of Borno State. A source told the Daily Trust in Maiduguri that the ISWAP members were dressed in military camouflage and drove 2 gun trucks. A resident, Bakura Ibrahim, said the insurgents positioned themselves under a tree and stood by the roadside with bags of old Naira notes. The district's head of Ture Kaltungo local government area of Gombe State has urged commercial banks to make the newly redesigned Naira notes available to save Nigerians from further hardship. The district head, Mr. Habila Garba, said they received complaints from his people over a non-availability of the redesigned notes. The monarch said this when he received CBN monetary team who were at the community to ensure compliance of the cash swap program. Some residents also shared different experiences in coping and assessing the new Naira notes.
It's a welcome idea, and I hope that the authorities concerned, including you people coming here, will ensure that these new notes are going to be available at the point of disbursement, like the POS. Like the banks that we have here in Kaltungo and the microfinance banks. You go there, they give you old notes. People are disappointed, but it is not yet expired, so we have to collect them and use them. But they are being recycled all the time, and this is the frustration.
I feel very happy because in the few days ago, we even took the old note to the bank for change. Then we didn't even get the opportunity to change that money. So definitely we feel happy as the money has come to the village or the rural area where we can be able to get the change very easy.
I will sell like 3,000, 300,000, 400,000. But for now, things are not like that. Things are very difficult and it's very hard. Today, I didn't do anything. Even 10,000, I didn't make it. So this thing, to me, is hard. So I don't know how to put it.
Nigerians have been complaining about the inability to swap their old Naira notes and the scarcity of the new Naira notes in commercial banks. Jamil Mabai reports that despite the extension, residents and business communities in Katsina expressed deep concern and solicit for more time. Otherwise, it might spell doom for the country's economy.
There has been pressure from many Nigerians and groups concerning the initial January 31st deadline for the validity of the older notes, as the scarcity of the newly designed 200, 500 and 1,000 Naira notes prevailed across the country. Angry, frustrated and overwhelmed by the current situation, Nigerians still call for another extension, as many local artisans find it difficult to access the new Naira notes. In Katsina, the story is the same. Anis Shimfita walked towards the ATM machine for the 10th time in 4 days, trying to get the new Naira note, and the queue kept growing longer and longer with little or no satisfaction.
I have been here for almost 8 hours, yet there are 359 people ahead of me.
Katsina State has a total of 34 local government areas, and only 1/3 have commercial banks, which are not fully operational, thus cannot meet up the high demand. A local merchant in Dawa village, Kankia local government, is the only trader in a community of over 3,000 people that still transact in the old Naira note. On the other hand, his suppliers reject the old notes from him.
I came here to get new notes for daily market transaction. I'm the only trader that collects the older notes in the whole village. It has affected my business. I hardly make 1/4 of the profit I make in a day. Last Wednesday, we sell maize at 500 naira. Now it's being sold at almost 700 naira. I don't have any money to restore. Where I used to buy the maize, they don't accept transfer. They don't know anything like transfer.
While rural communities and businesses are struggling, businesses in urban areas are battling to meet customers' demands.
I wish the government can extend additional time for the sake of small business owners.
Despite extending the deadline period to February 10th, Katsina residents still call for more time. Jamilu Mobay, Trust Television, Katsina.
Rural dwellers in Katsina State have expressed mixed reactions over the extension of the deadline for swapping the old Naira notes to new ones. Locals in Dankama to Damari in Kaita and Sabua local government areas are worried about the continued stagnation of the petty traders following the extension, saying the Apex Bank should have stood by its earlier plan of 31st January 2023. Now, some residents of Kaita and Sabua local government areas of Katsina State shared their views with Abdullahi Yamadi.
To many residents here, the extension means another 10 days of struggle to obtain the new currency, a situation that forced their businesses to a standstill. They say they have been incurring huge losses since the pronouncement of the policy on Naira redesign by the central bank. The villagers say the central bank should have maintained its earlier stand of 31st January, which they believed would have cut short the difficulties being faced by Nigerians who are trying to exchange old notes with the new ones. Most of these people here purchased farm produce to get rid of their old notes and are apprehensive of incurring losses at expiration of the deadline, which has now been extended. Honestly speaking, we are not pleased with the extension. It may be a welcome development to many Nigerians, but to us, the ordinary citizens living in local communities like this one, it is a setback. To us in the villages, the policy has had a negative impact on us. From the beginning of this policy, many of us have lost out capital and are out of business.
To amma kuma waɗansu suna cewa to ƙarin goma nan da aka yi su kuma kamar an ƙara musu ma kuɗi su. An ɗan shigar da kuɗaɗe a banki dalilin wannan ƙarin kuma yanzu ba a haito da kuɗin ba.
I don't know anything about what you are saying. I don't have money to exchange. For the little I have, if I go to the market and they refuse to collect it, I would come back and keep it for history.
Da tsayin ma da sabon babu su a hannun yanzu.
They are blaming the federal government of not considering the masses while implementing the policy, which they said, if not properly handled, will make the locals poorer. In the past, governments used media and even town criers and singers to sensitize people on government's policies and programs. But it is not the same with the current government. We don't know why. They however called on the government to not extend the deadline beyond February 10, as they believe that a further extension may worsen their plight. Observers say the policy has the potential of forcing millions of Nigerians, especially rural dwellers, out of businesses if not properly handled, a situation that portends danger for the fragile peace being enjoyed in some parts of the country. Abdullahi Ismail Ahmadi, Trust Television News, Kazana.
President Muhammadu Buhari has commissioned the Dala Inland Dry Port and several other projects as part of his one-day working visit to Kano State. While commissioning the Cancer Center in Giginyu, President Buhari commended Governor Ganduje's foresight, which he says will not only stop medical tourism but also boost the nation's healthcare sector. Meanwhile, the president has also commissioned the just concluded Muhammadu Buhari Interchange Bridge at the Hotoro and the ultra-modern Dangote Skill Acquisition Center, among other developmental projects. Some angry residents of Kano came out to protest the visit of President Muhammadu Buhari on Monday. The president was in Kano to commission federal government projects in the state. The irate residents set bonfires along Maiduguri Road in the capital and chanted Bamayi, which means down with you, throwing stones at the convoy from afar despite heavy security presence and tear gas. The protests are coming a few days after a similar incident occurred in Daura, the president's hometown. The protests might not be unconnected with the current hardship Nigerians are facing due to rising costs and scarcity of petrol, as well as the redesignation of Naira. The All Progressive Congress Presidential Campaign Council has dismissed the purported attack on President Muhammadu Buhari in Kano as the imagination of the opposition party. The campaign council described the report as fake news for a party that has lost touch with reality and suffering the agony of violating its own rules on power rotation. PDP National Publicity Secretary Debo Olugonagba, in a statement in Abuja on Monday, condemned the attack on Buhari on Monday in Kano State by miscreants allegedly sponsored by the presidential candidate of the All Progressive Congress, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and Governor Umar Ganduje. But the Director of Media and Publicity, Bayo Onanuga, advised Nigerians to disregard the fake news, insisting that the impending defeat of the PDP at the coming presidential poll has pushed the party and its candidates into frenzied hallucinatory mode and untrue fabrications against APC and its candidates. The ruling APC said it was not surprised by the imaginary attack on the president being peddled by the People's Democratic Party, since the party has nothing to tell Nigerians from its crumbling presidential campaign. The management of the Nigerian Railway Corporation has resumed train services on the Kaduna-Abuja route 4 days after its suspended operation on the route. The first train departed from the Rigasa train station to Abuja at exactly 7 a.m. on Tuesday morning with few passengers. NRC had on Friday suspended operations on the Kaduna-Abuja route following the derailment of an Abuja-bound train that occurred at the Kubwa in the nation's federal capital territory on the same day. They, however, appeal to the management of the Nigerian Railway Corporation to put all the necessary measures in place to forestall a future, occurrence of the train derailment or any other security breach. People of the Katagum zone of Bauchi State have expressed confidence that the extension by 1 week for the collection of permanent voters' card will encourage more participation in next month's general elections. Some of the electorate from the zone spoke to Trust TV on their experiences so far as the last lap of distribution commences. The report.
The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) announced the extension for the distribution of permanent voter cards to enable more Nigerians to discharge their civic duty in the forthcoming elections. Saleh Musa and Solomon Buba are residents of Azare Town. They gave INEC a pat on the back for the extension, which they said is a welcome development. If you get your PVC, and even if you don't get, God has destined it to be like that. All you have to do is to make the right choice.
The officials, they are really trying for giving the BBC at the time, because so many places they used to complain about this, but here seriously they really try, and we see their this thing and their effort for doing that.
However, despite the successes recorded at the Azare Local Government PVC Collection Center, a large number of cards remain uncollected, a situation another resident, while Mary Ali describes as uncomfortable. My sister got her own PVC, but I have not gotten mine. We actually did it the same time. I've complained, but to no avail. I just need the PVC to enable me exercise my franchise.
Because people were having low knowledge. When they are coming for the registration, they come and make multiple registration, which is not supposed to be. Then the system has rejected their second registration because their old card has been lost. If they have told us that at the time of the registration that their card have been lost, we are going to fix it for them so that the replacement card will be issued to them. No, not new PVC. But the problem is the lack of knowledge and lack of awareness at the time of the registration.
Meanwhile, the electoral umpire says it is still making effort to distribute more than 80% of the cards in the area before the expiration of the newly extended period.
You're watching News Update on Trust TV. Coming up, we'll bring you the story of abandoned baby in Niger. Details on this and more after the break. Stay with us.
Nigeria na we country, APC na the party, na one man be a choice.
At last, the elections are here. Let's turn out en masse on election day and vote Asiwaju Bola Tinubu as President of Nigeria for a renewed hope and a better Nigeria. Vote APC, the party that shows a broom.
Media Trust Group, in collaboration with the Center for Democracy and Development, presents the 2023 Kano gubernatorial debate, featuring candidates of 4 major political parties: Nasir Yusuf Gawuna of the APC, Bashir Ishaq Bashir of the Labour Party, Abba Kabir Yusuf of the NMPP, and Muhammad Abacha of the PDP. Date: Saturday, 4th February 2023. Time: 10 a.m. Venue: Bayero University Kano New Site. The event is strictly by invitation and no political supporters are expected at the venue.
I will be there.
I will be there.
I will be there.
Media partners: Express Radio 90.3 FM, Nasara Radio 98.5 FM, Freedom Radio, and ARTV Kano. The debate will be broadcast live on Trust TV and other channels across the country.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is News Update on Trust TV. And here is a recap of our top stories. We brought you ISWAP distributes old Naira notes to passengers on Borno Highway. And also, new Naira note scarcity pushes people to the edge. Now moving on to more news, the former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Dezani Alison Maduke, has initiated a process at the Federal High Court Abuja to the forfeiture orders of the federal government on properties allegedly linked to her vacated. In a fresh motion filed before the Federal High Court in Abuja by her lawyer and senior advocate of Nigeria, Mike Ozekome, Alison Maduke wants, among others, an order extending the time within which to seek leave to apply to the court for an order, setting aside the public notice issued by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to conduct the public sale on her property. She said this motion is intended against the notice recently issued by the EFCC for disposal of forfeiture assets, some of which included those belonging to her. Seeking 5 reliefs, Alison Maduke argued, among other things, that she was not heard before the others for forfeiture were issued, thereby denying her the rights. It could be recalled that the federal government had last year secured orders for final forfeiture of properties in Nigeria and abroad, allegedly linked to the former Minister of Petroleum Resources. And in security, the Oyo State Police Command has arrested an armed robbery suspect for breaking into a house, robbing the house, and allegedly killing the owner. The suspect was paraded alongside others who were arrested for cultism, rape, and unlawful possession of the weapons at the police headquarters in Eleyele in Ibadan. The reports.
In its continuous efforts to neutralize criminal elements in the state, the Oyo Police Command has arrested these criminal suspects for engaging in various criminal activities in the state. Among those paraded were these youngsters who belong to a cult group and are accused of attempting to murder a student of the Polytechnic, Ibadan. In a related development, this 46-year-old suspect was arrested for allegedly breaking into a house around Alakia area of Ibadan, robbing a family of their belongings, and eventually killing the breadwinner of the family.
Of some notorious armed robbers who were members of Aye secret confraternity and had been unleashing mayhem on students of Okeogun Polytechnic and members of the public in Shaki town were sighted at their rendezvous location at Akpinite area of the town. Sequel to this information, a team of police detectives attached to the monitoring unit swung into action, and in the process, 7 of the dreaded secret cult members were apprehended.
A guardian of an abandoned baby in Madela town in Niger State has narrated how a baby was neglected around the town's central mosque, likely by her mother. Al-Hassan Adamu, who is the ward head, also known as Mai Ungwa of Madela Junction area in the community, said his attention was drawn to the abandoned child by an imam of a nearby mosque. He said that he is informed the development on, to his superior, the village head, as well as the district head of Madela, who demanded him to take care of the baby. She had since been named Nihla, meaning joyous in Arabic language, Adamu said. The incident took place on November 19, 2022, around 5:30 a.m., he added. 2 months on, Nihla's guardian said the only challenges facing the baby's upkeep are daily, adding beyond those items. The baby is doing just fine.
They called me, I went to the mosque. What I discovered that she was put inside her cloth. All the clothes was wearing, there was blood that she was giving birth to. So when I brought her, then we offer my wife, I offer, so they washed all her body. Before even washing her body, they put her inside water because both the blood and the cloth matched together with her body. So that is what happened. So we thank Subhanahu wa Ta'ala that they bathed her and finished everything. So My wife has been taking care of her. At the same time, myself and people have been helping, at least for God's sake, have been helping. So my most challenge now is this milk that she has been taking, because each one is sold at the price of 35 each one, and presently now almost about 20 bongoli that have won. At least more than that or up to that presently now. So that is the situation we are.
And now from the foreign scene, Liberia's President George Weah has told Parliament that he will run for re-election this year after a first term marred with corruption, allegations and an economic downturn. Weah took office in 2018 in the West Africa country's first peaceful change of power in 7 decades and is constitutionally eligible to run again in the October 10 polls. Liberia is still recovering from a military coup in 1980 and a 14-year civil war, and that, ended in 2003, rather. And in sports, Arsenal have agreed a deal with Chelsea to sign Italy midfielder Jorginho, the 31-year-old, who joined Chelsea from Napoli in 2014, is into the final 6 months of his contract at Stamford Bridge. The Gunners turned their attentions to Jorginho after having 2 bids rejected by Brighton for Moses Caicedo. Now, Brighton says Caicedo is not for sale, and it looks increasingly likely the Ecuador midfielder will remain at the club after the 11 p.m. deadline. And with that, we've come to the end of Trust TV News Update. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Thanks for watching.